Hey, I'm John Crestani and welcome to my channel. I'm a marketing entrepreneur and I just came across this really interesting ad a few days ago and I saw it and I figured I'd break it down because I've been seeing a lot of political advertisements lately and I thought it would be interesting to actually analyze some of the politicians' ads just to see where they're going right and where they're going wrong. So without further ado, we're going to do Bernie Sanders and this ad's called Fight for Us. I recently saw it on TV and okay, so instantly, this ad is all about Bernie, okay? And why do I say that? I mean, obviously, it's a Bernie Sanders ad, but the issue with this is, well, it's not about the issues immediately. I'm seeing Bernie, and I'm seeing all of his fans. I'm seeing flags for Bernie, and it adds a lot of what we call this is social proof, okay? So we're seeing tons of people chanting, so obviously, it kind of illustrates a point that lots of people like him. He's getting crowds out, he's getting people coming to his rallies. He's a big figurehead. But the problem I have with this ad is that it isn't talking about the issues. It's only speaking to people who like Bernie Sanders right away. Because all you're seeing, all it's talking about is Bernie, okay? All I'm seeing is Bernie. So let's play it again.
Living in a family that struggled economically, powerfully influenced my life and my values.
So he kind of ties it in right away. We're getting the sense, he said, a family I grew up in struggled economically. So really I get the sense that, you know, if I was in an economically disadvantaged situation, I would probably, you know, somewhat identify with that story. You know, the economic disadvantages that, you know, are happening. He doesn't say the solutions, but he's saying it guides his values, which is kind of interesting. So already I'm getting the sense that this ad is targeting sort of economically disadvantaged people, and I'm assuming that Bernie's the savior. And here, once again, we're seeing, you know, a rally, and we're seeing, you know, people out in the streets, and we see people of all colors. We see black and white and black and white. You know, the only thing I don't like about this, he seems like he's tapping into anger too. So for people that are angry about whatever the current situation is, and there's a lot of people on, you know, a lot of Democrats especially that I know are very angry about Trump and the other Republican politicians. So it's really tapping into that sort of anger and tapping into economic disenfranchisement. You know, that's what I believe it's speaking towards. But what I don't like about this right now is if I'm not a protester, if I'm not a kind of like a radical, right? Like somebody who actually goes out and does sit-ins or sleep-ins or whatever these, I know there's I don't go to any political rallies. I don't do any of that stuff. It kind of draws me away from it because I really don't care too much about politics. I think it's all the kind of the same. And, you know, tell me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but right away, I'm just not a political radical. So I'm getting the sense that radicals and people cheering are for Bernie, but I see he's a very liked person. And if he's going for the Democratic nomination, I'm assuming people want to go behind the winner. So maybe that's what he's trying to illustrate, but let's keep playing the ad to see what's going on.
Bernie Sanders, fighting to raise wages for American workers, leading the fight to guarantee health care for all, standing up for civil rights.
So he's fighting to create more wages, he's guaranteeing health care, and he's standing up for civil rights. So what I'm getting right away is, you know, I'm getting who his audience is or who he's speaking to. People whose wages are at the minimum, okay? People who have minimum wage, who want it raised, because ultimately, you know, the government can only raise the minimum wage, so he wants to raise people's minimum, maybe he wants to raise all workers' wages, so, which is probably what he's talking about, I guess. So he's trying to make people who are hourly workers, who are paid on an hourly basis, higher wages, which is great. And that speaks to a lot of people. And for people who want healthcare, but can't afford it, who think it's too expensive, that's a huge thing. Free healthcare for everyone. That's a huge benefit. So more money, more healthcare. And he's also talking about civil rights. So he's talking about equality and civil rights. I've only been discriminated a few times. People thought I was homeless. Actually, I was literally actually kicked out of 2 restaurants because they thought I was homeless. My beard was a little too long. But that's who he's speaking to. So he's speaking to a large segment of the population. These are huge huge benefits, which are really interesting. Frankly, they don't speak to me as an entrepreneur. Personally, I'm in great health. I don't have a wage. I don't even have I pay myself my own salary. I'm an entrepreneur. I create my own income. So, my income is based off of results, really. So that none of it speaks to me so far, and I'm, a white male. So none of this speaks to me so far, but the benefits are very clear, and I like how he's listing it out.
Seniors, veterans, and our children's future.
So he said he's also for seniors, he's also for veterans, and he's also for children. So he really I think he just covered every single category other than like white male entrepreneurs. Not that that really matters, not that that's the way I vote, but the point being, he covered a lot of people. But what I didn't like is when he mentioned for seniors, for veterans, and for children's future, I didn't get exactly why. It felt like marketing to me. How is he supporting veterans, right? It's very clear how he's supporting the lower class. He's raising wages. It's very clear how he's supporting people with healthcare issues or who pay a lot of money for healthcare. He's going to make free healthcare for all. I want to see some justification for how he's going to help seniors and veterans and children. So let's see.
Whether it was Wall Street, the drug companies, or other powerful special interests, Bernie has taken them on for us.
The message I'm getting from that part is he's fighting for us, okay? He's fighting for us. And as a former lawyer or whatever, I think he was a lawyer, he's actively working in the people's interests. He's fighting for us. And surely he has a lot of energy. He's loud. So it definitely seems like he is an advocate for people, which is exciting. They said he was fighting the Wall Street, he was fighting the medical companies. Exactly how he was fighting them wasn't really clear. And the kind of headlines that popped up on the screen, it wasn't clear enough to me exactly what was going on. I saw Amazon, he raised the minimum wage there or something like that. So I get he's fighting them, but I don't fully make the logical leaps of why that's helping us. Like how breaking up, I paused the video and checked the headline. It was, he's breaking up Wall Street or something. How does that help people? I may be naive here, but I'm assuming it's like breaking up Wall Street means people in finance will make less money and other people will make more money or something like that. I don't totally get it, or somehow he's breaking up the pharmaceutical companies because they're making too much money and he's going to redistribute it to the poor people who don't have as much money or the workers. I wasn't exactly clear how those points tie in. And the other thing that was a little off for me was just the word special interests. I don't fully know what that means. I may be totally naive. I'm 32 years old. I read the news, a little bit every day, but not much. So I don't get how fighting special interest works in my favor. I'm assuming it's something along the lines of like the bad rich people are making too much money and, it's nepotism and stuff, and somehow it's being distributed to the people because he's fighting them. I'm not exactly sure, but I do get a strong sense that he is working in the American people's best interest.
Now, our country is at a turning point. A dangerous demagogue tearing our nation apart. Hard-working people betrayed by Trump.
Okay, so that was an interesting piece right there. If we back up, look at this image right here. This looks like a lynch mob. I know I'm only 32 years old, but I've seen enough old movies like Gone with the Wind, so I know what a lynch mob looks like. And, they have fire, they have torches, everyone here is white. Lynching was a racist thing. So if I was African American, if I'm any race, I don't like to see this because I don't want violence, okay? So I think there's a little bit of incongruity because we're talking about him fighting for us and then we're talking about violence here. And I understand the point he's making. He's making it against Trump. This ad, it really seems like it's there to motivate the Democratic base to get rid of Trump and really vote for Bernie. And you don't want this happening. But then he goes into these kind of like peaceful images of hardworking Americans. So there's just a little bit of a whiplash there from fighting for the people, kind of like a euphoric kind of fighting, to a, kind of an angry fighting, like we don't want the angry sort of, and now it's kind of like this peaceful imagery. So let's keep watching.
A healthcare system that makes enormous profits for drug and insurance companies, and a planet on the brink of a climate disaster. In this moment, we need a fighter, Bernie Sanders.
So right in that segment, he's talking about profits out of control and a climate disaster. So he's bringing it back to sort of more issues. It sort of seems like this is trying to incite more anger about these problems. He's really laying out a bunch of problems. Companies too much profit, climate change is happening. The linkage, he isn't totally tying in some of them, not with the climate change yet, but he's tying it in to himself. He's the answer and he's going to fight and he's going to be on your side. He's not necessarily laying out clear solutions, it seems like, but he's on your side.
We know he'll fight for us as president because he always has.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
So that was a really interesting ad. Now, the thing that's clear is he's a fighter and, he's against corporate profits and he's gonna, help climate change, for the better and all this stuff. Now, as for my reaction to this ad, maybe I give it a D plus or a C minus. Now, the reason I give it a low rating is because ultimately it doesn't seem to be appealing to a very wide base, okay? When it starts, it's about Bernie, and when it ends, it's about Bernie. And what I believe the goal of politicians to do is to actually get people that aren't their voters to vote for them, and also to mobilize the voters that would vote for them to get out to the polls. So thinking from a politician's point of view, those are the two things that I'm thinking about. Get people to vote that like you, get people that don't like you to like you or to understand you. And I don't believe this really did neither. It's an interesting piece to watch. There's too many things that didn't make sense in this ad. He tried to address too much in this 1 minute, I believe. He talks about climate change, he talks about raising wages, he talks about breaking up companies, but doesn't explain how that'll help people. Talks about free healthcare, talks about all sorts of things, right? Trump is bad, medical companies make too much profits. There's just so many messages there. It kind of leaves me feeling a little bit lost. I believe this ad could have been made a lot greater if it didn't start with him in the beginning. If it started with the issues, because ultimately, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe to appeal to wide base, it's not going to be showing his face, it's going to be talking about the issues. And I believe a lot of people can get behind a lot of the issues he talked about. I mean, who doesn't want higher wages? I mean, let's do a quick Google search, how many people earn hourly salaries in the US? So I just looked up the statistics, and over half of all Americans earn an hourly wage. Now, if he's looking to raise wages, that's a huge thing. And that affects over 50% of all Americans. So if he just says, if you are earning an hourly wage, you're going to make more money and keep more of your paycheck if I am in office, that would be huge, right? So, I mean, I think the ad could have, he could have just chosen that issue alone. I mean, I think that would almost seal the deal for his presidency if he just got everybody that earns a wage more money. And ultimately, the people earning hourly wages are generally at the lower end of the spectrum. So that's his base, it seems like anyway. So I think that could have been a really powerful issue. And also medical conditions. He could have just talked about medical conditions and said, well, I'm going to make healthcare free for all. We're going to make it free. That would have affected a lot of people. That even is interesting to me because, I'm in a pretty high income tier and I have to pay, I think it's like $1,000 or $2,000 a month for medical insurance because it's unfair for really high income earners. If he said free healthcare, it's just a human right, I would have said that's pretty interesting to me. I think he just packed on way too many issues in there. He could have just picked up on Trump. Over 50% of Americans, I think it's like 80 or something, don't like President Trump. So he could have just picked up on that issue and has said, Trump is ruining our reputation or our economy or our whatever it is, global politics. And he could have just gone after stuff bad about Trump. But he really just picked apart too many issues. And by using too many issues, he sort of muddled the message. This is something, I know from marketing is in marketing, we keep the message in order to sell stuff. And what I do for a living is I spend about $2,000 to $10,000 a day in advertising so that my business can earn more than that, essentially. And what my goal is for every dollar I spend, I want to make $2 back in profits for my business because one of those $100 pays for the ad and the other $100 pays for my employees and my workers and myself. Now, I know from all of my schooling and from all of the marketing that I do in the direct response industry that you keep a message clear throughout. You stick to one message throughout everything, all your marketing. Amazon's done a very good job of this. Lower prices, fast shipping. That's it, right? We're gonna have the cheapest prices on the internet and you're gonna get your package fast. That's it. They have two messages and that's all they focus on. They don't muddle it with a bunch of other stuff. They're just sticking to that. Walmart, lower prices, right? One single marketing message throughout. This is too muddled and I think it's too targeted. It speaks too much to people who are already fans, and even the emotions, I'm not even gonna go there, but it's like he's saying, you know, fight, then he's like, you know, showing that Trump is angry too. They're both kind of angry people, but he's saying the other angry person is bad. I think there's a better way to frame the whole message. I just don't think it's very effective advertising. So D+, C-, can't decide what, but let me know if this video was interesting and if you learned something. This is a new format for me. So let me know if you like these sorts of videos in the comments below. And also let me know if you'd like to see me do more of these. Just type in do more of these, but also let me know if there's any sort of ad that you've seen on YouTube or on TV that you'd like me to react to, because I come at things from a sort of marketer's mind, and hopefully my hope is that you learn something about marketing from this video as well. Now, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you want to see daily videos on how to learn marketing and how to start your own online business and start earning money online. And also if you just get excited about learning. That's what I do here on this channel. I hope to see you.